Hello, a very good afternoon to you. Warm welcome back to the Great Hall of Leeds University and the Leeds International Piano Competition 2021. Every note exclusively live here on medici.tv. I'm Petroc Trelawney.
And I'm Catherine Stott, and really happy to be back on what is the final day of our semi-final round. It's been so interesting so far because this really incorporates chamber music, and of course we get to hear some more contemporary music. We'll be hearing Kurtag for the first time, so that'll be great.
Thomas Hades as well, in terms of contemporary musicians. Solo piano music by Bach, Schubert, Schumann and Chopin. And then our chamber works today, well, it's the return of an old favourite.
I know the Dvorak Quintet's been very popular in this round, so we're going to be having the third performance of that. So that'll be really interesting to hear what can happen again, and a return visit of the Castellan Quartet, and also the Brahms' wonderful first cello sonata.
The cover coming off the Steinway Concert Grand, Ulrich Gerhardt from Steinway and Sons, who treats this piano like it is a beloved pet or a special child, something to be cared for with love and great attention, little strictness as well, I think, making sure that it's absolutely in the right place. And there it is, gleaming as the cover comes off. I expect we'll hear him touch it up, play a note or two, just to make sure it's in peak condition, ready for our pianists in this first session on this last day of the Leeds semi-finals. Kaito Kobayashi from Japan will be up first, and then in about an hour and a half's time we will hear Zhang Li from China. So really a very exciting couple of hours ahead. Yeah. Then we're going to be back at 6:45 for our last two semi-finalists. That'll finish at round about 9:45. We're talking all times here, British summertime. The jury will then go away to decide on the names, the 5 names of the pianists who are going to go through to the final. And that'll be announced at about 10:45 in a special broadcast with Kathy and I on the medici.tv and the Leeds Piano Facebook page. That's going to be, well, a bittersweet moment, I think.
Yes, I mean, there's no way to sugar that pill, you know. It is, of course, filled with disappointment for the people that don't go through. So a lot of anticipation, because remember, all the pianists now that are playing in the semi-finals don't know if they've got through, so they're busy preparing for the final just in case they get there. And so, you know, it will be an exciting moment for some. Yeah,
very disappointing for others. Let's hear a bit of performance from our Leeds Piano Archive, which has been a real treat seeing some of this over these days here in Leeds. We're going to go back to the 2012 competition when Louis Schwitzgebel took the silver prize, came second with a performance of what has become a Leeds piano favourite, Beethoven's 4th piano concerto. Fitzgable taking the silver prize at the Leeds in 2012, playing Beethoven 4, which we've heard many times at the finals. We might hear again a few times this weekend, I think.
Who knows?
Yeah.
All will be revealed this evening.
Certainly on the list of some of the semi-finalists in their choice of 2 piano concertos. They have to make known 2 piano concertos from 2 lists, one of which they will be asked to play by the judges. We'll find out which one later on this evening. Stephen Osborne is with us, distinguished member of our Leeds piano jury. Welcome.
Hello.
Stephen, have you appeared on many juries and competitions, or is this a first for you?
No, I've done a couple more. I did Busoni a few years ago. I've done the Glasgow competition, but I participated in many competitions in my youth, and it's much nicer on this side.
Oh, absolutely. It's a really nice feeling just to be sitting back and enjoying, but also incredible responsibility, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly very intense kind of listening, and there's so many things to try and separate out. I mean, you know, naturally you gravitate towards people that play the way you play, and you sort of have to somehow park that. And for me, the fundamental thing is just trying to think, how engaged am I with this? Because I find that if I'm engaged with someone, then it makes me trust that actually they're doing something they believe in. For me, that's the single most important thing.
Yeah.
So and even if they're doing something that I really don't like musically, if I can sense that actually for them it's something that's alive, then I would rather that than somebody that seems to be doing in a superficial terms, something that sounds lovely, but I don't quite connect to it somehow.
And if it's something that's absolutely your piece, I mean, we had a bit of Messiaen the other night, and I was thinking, well, I mean, your recordings of those works are so glorious.
They're difficult. Yeah, I mean, it's almost impossible to really separate yourself from what you want to do, and in that case, I don't know what to do with that. It's really tricky. You listen to other pieces.
Have you found it interesting, the repertoire choices of the competitors?
Yeah, actually, I've been surprised how many kind of off the beaten path pieces there's been. Relatively little really straightforward repertoire. I think which has been brilliant. Heard a bunch of pieces I'd never heard.
Yep.
There was one particular competitor that almost had not a single mainstream piece in their entire
It could have been deliberate, of course, but
yeah, but I mean, the way they played kind of justified it. So.
yeah.
And this challenge of having a piece of chamber music, which clearly some pianists will have played a lot of chamber music, others won't have done, and therefore it's a big challenge for them.
I mean, it's quite an interesting thing, you know, how you balance those different elements, the solo playing, the chamber music, because like if someone's 20, I mean, you hope by that time they have done a bunch of chamber music, but for whatever reason, sometimes people are just completely focused on their solo stuff. And yeah, if someone does a bad chamber music performance and a great solo thing, how do you... I suppose in the end, it's like you're sort of trying to sort of feel both what they're doing on the night and like how much genuine, deep stuff is in there. And you can, even if someone doesn't play the chamber music that well, you can sort of tell something of their instincts, I think, even from that.
And also perhaps in these very difficult times, and what's been a really terrible 18 months for chamber music in particular, a lot of these young people may not have been able to get together and play much chamber music, even if that's something they really love doing.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's been very tricky. The jury is, in general, has, I think, been very impressed by the standard. I have been super impressed. And one of the jury members said, I wonder if it's because of all these lockdowns. There's been so much time to practice. But the reverse side of that is, yeah, for chamber music, pretty tricky.
Just a quick final question. Will you be just basing your decisions in the judging room tonight on what you've heard in these semis, or will you think back to the second round as well? I suppose it'll be hard not
everything
to.
We've heard counts towards it, yeah.
We look forward to hearing your decisions a bit later on this evening. It's a long day for you, a lot of listening, but thank you very much indeed for being with us. Stephen Osborne, who is one of our distinguished jury here at the 2021 Leeds International Piano Competition. We're just a couple of minutes away from our first pianist being on stage this afternoon. Our sixth semi-finalists, 7, 8, 9, 10, our seventh semi-finalists. I always get that one messed up when I'm trying to do the maths. Kaito Kobayashi from Japan, who is going to play a great program for us. Let's just, before we see him on stage, have a look at him in his performance here in the second round when he performed Mozart. Well, that's Kaito Kobayashi playing Mozart in the second round of the Leeds. We're about to hear his semi-final performance. Kathy, he's going to start with a tiny fragment of Kurtag, his homage to Johann Sebastian Bach, followed by Bach, and then a fragment of the homage to Schubert by Kurtag, followed by Schubert. I mean, this is a very carefully considered program.
Absolutely, and this is really refreshing to see, actually, I must say. It's really nice the way he's constructed his program. And there's such tiny little miniatures, it'll be almost over before it started.
Just making sure he's got his handkerchief ready if he needs to dust down the keys of the piano. Face mask still on at the moment. There it goes. So we're pretty much ready, I think, for his appearance. And here a series of Yettercock by Kurtag. Games.
Games, yes, and there are many, many of them. He's been writing them for so many years. Something started in 1973. There are 10 volumes of them, and they're just for experimenting on the piano, not really as a tutorial, just for children, based on children having fun and what they do on the piano and how they experiment with sound. And actually the Bach suite that he's going to play is very unusual because it's only got 3 movements. So normally we would expect to have 6 movements in the Bach, so very short.
Kaito Kobayashi, 25 years old, from Japan. He's going to begin with Kurtag, then Bach, then Schubert, and then more Kurtag. 25-year-old Kaito Kobayashi from Japan, ending with a selection of Yatakop by Judge Kakar, the Hungarian composer. Catherine Scott, what a brilliantly conceived programme.
Absolutely, it was so refreshing just to witness how brilliantly he had put that together, and it really paid off because he believed in the way he put it. Exquisite playing, actually. He's such a poet, and I'd just like to point out one thing, because in case viewers thought he was reading from the music for the whole time, the competitors are allowed to use the music in the contemporary music, so he had that he just kept it up on the stand for the whole time. So for the Bach and for the Schubert.
But not necessarily using it for the whole time.
Absolutely, absolutely. But it was absolutely stunning playing. I really enjoyed that a lot, and he really draws in his audience. And just I loved the way it was very daring also, because he was daring the audience not to applaud.
And we didn't.
And we didn't.
He held us absolutely.
Absolutely,
in his
even with that building's alarm going off, he was completely unfazed by everything.
Well, I don't know if viewers heard that at home, but there seemed to be a car alarm or something that was going off outside of the hall here at Leeds University. And not that loud, but a presence, and an irritating presence that, you know, clearly we all up here in the balcony with the jury registered the sound. I don't know, I mean, you've been on stage when things have happened, when there have been extraneous noises. Are you aware of them as a pianist? Probably not.
On the whole, not, but he was playing a program that wasn't particularly demonstrative in volume. So he just, it was as if nothing happened, and he kept us engaged because of that. Just
tell us a little bit more about Yatakok, those pieces by Kertag. Kertag started writing them, I think, back in 1973. They continue to come. Children playing spontaneously at the piano is what he says he was trying to evoke. Children seeing the piano as a toy, something to touch, something to caress, something to run their fingers over. The innocence of childhood before the piano becomes something more challenging.
I think so, and I think he got very carried away with this whole concept and just wrote so many. There are 10 volumes of these pieces, and he's often performed them. And yes, if you see a child just approach the piano and you just see what they do, how they just touch it, and he didn't want it to be too specific. As if, you know, trying to teach a child to play. It was just to experiment.
Yeah. Well, you'll have seen that the stage has been reset behind us with chairs for the Castellan quartets, one of the chamber music partners of this year's competition. There they are backstage with Kaito Kobayashi, and it's our third and final performance of the Dvorak second quintet.
Well, it's going to be fascinating to hear his take on this, and of course the quartet now have to adapt for the third time, so that's going to be really interesting. I think they're almost ready.
Castellan quartet, don't forget, only met these pianists a couple of days ago. It really is a speed dating exercise whereby they get just a few hours to work together before they perform the work on stage. The Castellan quartet with Kaito Kobayashi performing Dvorak. Makoto Kobayashi, 25 years old, from Japan, born in Yokohama, now studying in Basel in Switzerland, playing Dvorak's Piano Quintet No. 2 with the Castalian Quartet.
I thoroughly enjoyed that, and it was very interesting the way the quartet responded to playing with him. Their performance was also very different. So this is the third time we've heard the Dvorak. I felt they really brought out the kind of effervescent, joyous feeling, especially in that last movement. He was really driving the tempo there, especially coming hot on the heels off the scherzo. Very sensitive. He's very poetic. Possibly, you know, when it's very, very quiet and you've got four strings there, he can almost give a little bit more, but he's so sensitive, that will all come. Fantastic.
Very interesting to just hear those opening notes from him. I mean, you and I caught each other's eye and thought, this is just going to be good, isn't it? Right from the beginning of the piece.
I think what's difficult about this piece is the sort of relationship of tempo. And you know, the piano has to set the scene for this beautiful cello theme to come in, and you know, however much you rehearse it, it needs to feel right, it needs to feel comfortable, and then it really sort of sets off. But he really understood it, I think.
Bravo once again to the members of the Castalian Quartet, Cindy Simonon and Daniel Roberts, the violinists, Charlotte Bonneton, viola, and Christopher Graves playing cello. We're going to hear three members of the quartet back in our evening session when they'll be performing a Brahms piano quartet. It's Laura van der Heijden coming up later on this afternoon. She's going to be playing Brahms Cello Sonata No. 1 with Zhang Li from China.
Absolutely, and it's very, you know, all the competitors have put together two programs for this round, and that has been chosen by the jury. So some of them will have prepared a sonata, some of them will have also prepared a quintet, and it just happens that one of them has been selected. So we hear a different side of a pianist when they're playing with one other person than playing with a quartet.
You're watching medici.tv live from the Great Hall of Leeds University. Leeds, great city of Yorkshire in the north of England. This great piano competition that takes place every 3 years dates back to 1963 when the first competition took place. We are approaching the end of the semi-finals. Three more pianists to hear. One coming up in about 20 minutes' time. Two more in our next broadcast at 6:45 BST. That'll finish at round about 9:45. The jury will then go off and make their decisions on the 5 finalists who will play in Leeds Town Hall on Friday and Saturday night. We will give you those names in a special Facebook broadcast on the medici.tv and Leeds Piano Competition Facebook pages. We're expecting that to be round about 10:30, 10:45, so make sure you're tuned in for that later on this evening. We'll remind you of all the details of where you can find that broadcast. That's when Dame Imogen Cooper, who's chairman of the Leeds jury, will announce the names of the 5 finalists. We're going to meet a couple of super fans of the Leeds in our interval this afternoon. Well, Kathy and I think, can fit into that category. But right now, let's look back to the 2018 piano competition. The winner from that year, the bronze medalist, Xinyan Wang, playing Schumann. Xin-Yan Wang, playing Schumann in the finals of the Leeds 3 years ago. He took the bronze medal. Great to see Ed Gardner conducting the Halle Orchestra, now music director of the London Philharmonic Orchestra. We're joined here in the balcony of the Great Hall of Leeds University by Chris Tate, who is a member of the Leeds Piano Competition Board, a trustee of the competition, and I think it's fair to say a super fan.
Well, absolutely. So I was born not far from here down the road, and part of my musical journey has been watching the Leeds since the 80s. And I recently came back to the UK after 20 years abroad. I actually lived in the Czech Republic, so hearing this Dvořák is absolutely fabulous.
Yes.
And yeah, came to live in Yorkshire again, and was introduced to the Leeds through a trustee, Ed Anderson, who I know from my business background, and he introduced me to all of this, and it's just all started there. So
Fabulous.
wonderful.
And I hear that you've been hosting one of the competitors, in fact, Kaito, who we just heard.
I have indeed, so I've been trying to catch my breath there with all of that wonderful Dvořák going on.
You must have heard a bit of it when he was staying.
Well, I have. I think the valleys of Calderdale were surprised to hear this wonderful music coming out of my living room. Kind of got the bohemian landscape meeting the foothills of the Pennines, so it's been wonderful having him.
You were saying you introduced him to the Pennines, to the beauty of. We should give a plug for the beauty of the Yorkshire landscape.
Indeed, I mean it's so very diverse out there, and of course because Kaito came in from an amber country, he needed to quarantine for a week, so. He was locked up at home playing his piano for a week, and then one day we managed to get out and go for a spin in the hills, and he loved the reservoirs and the dams and the wonderful West Yorkshire stroke Lancashire countryside. Got to be careful about the counties in this.
Yeah, you're right on the border.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So you've been following every single note now, because I mean, you know, as a trustee and a board member, you know, you need to really sort of understand what's going on when it's actually happening. You know?
Well, absolutely. We spent a lot of time getting ready for the third year, the triennial, and getting ready for the competition. So I'm still playing catch-up. I must admit, I haven't been able to get to all of the performances, but certainly the evening ones I've been to the second rounds as well, and looking forward to spending more time here during the week. But wonderful to see everybody.
It's all there on medici.tv. You can catch up with it and watch it when you wish. Do you have a favourite? I mean, is Kaito your favourite, or are we?
I don't think as a trustee I'm probably allowed to say.
No.
I think there's something special in all of them. Kaito a bit special, of course, because I've seen the personal side of him. Sure. He stayed with me for a week, and the connection there, the Dvořák, absolutely fantastic. But it's been an incredible level of talent this last week or so, and absolutely thrilled to be part of it as a trustee and support these people as they start their musical journeys.
What could be better? Chris Tate, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Chris is just one member of the great community of supporters of the Leeds Piano Competition. Let's meet some more.
When we first moved here, we were looking at a neighbour up the road had said, this is an amazing road to live in because you hear extraordinary piano music on summer evenings. And we didn't know what they meant by it. And they said because Fanny Waterman lives over the road. One of my daughters had lessons with her for many years, and we started hosting competitors who wanted to use the piano to practice. And that really became sort of our main involvement with the competition, hosting competitors over the years. So it's just been an absolute joy. And this time we've hosted one of the competitors for quarantine reasons. That was another thing, you know, making sure they were properly fed and able to withstand any virus threats that came. You know, felt a real obligation to make sure that they were kept safe and secure to be able to compete in the second round. The way that the Friends of the Piano Competition has come together to create quite an extraordinary support community for the pianists in the competition, it's really been remarkable. But I think what's really nice, just seeing the way that the competition has moved forward over the last 6 years, and it's really been extraordinarily positive change. and reaching out now into the city so that all sorts of people who previously might not have associated Leeds with the piano competition now really see it as something amazing.
This is the first time we've ever been. I've heard about it on the radio, I think.
It's a very important event in, well, not just Leeds actually, it's sort of internationally a very important event.
We both do quite a lot of music, don't we, together, sort of amateur.
Yeah.
Both play the piano a bit.
Jonathan has a diploma in the piano, don't you? So, we enjoy playing the piano.
When you've been teaching for a long, long time, something like this gives you a zip. And you go home and all the pupils look at you and think, what's she going to say today? What have I got to practice today?
Do you have any favourites so far, or is that a secret?
I had a winner that unfortunately didn't get through to this round. So I'm deeply saddened by an English boy. He was wonderful. He played Chopin just as I liked. Every note he did, it was perfect, absolutely perfect, the Chopin Prelude. But he didn't get through. So we've always had these, most of the time, we have disagreements over who goes through and who doesn't.
You should be on the jury by now.
I know, I sure shouldn't I? Then I would have had that one put through.
Well, we haven't seen any so far, so we've come with a notebook and a pen to see who we prefer.
I think that really is what makes this competition so special, the level of support it enjoys from people here in Leeds who are so passionate about ownership of this competition, aren't they?
Absolutely, and it just can't happen without that support, and we really need it, don't we, especially in these times.
Yes, you can show your support through love, or you can show your support through dollars, or euros, or pounds. If you'd like to support the work of the Leeds, help us to support our pianists. Donate by pressing the button on screen. You'll find it on the leedspiano.medici.tv page. Very easy. Click away. You can use PayPal or enter your details and make a donation. It might be 10 euros, it might be 10,000 euros. All donations gratefully received. We're joined now by Valerie James, who is another great fan of the Leeds Piano Competition. And also, well, I've decided to call you jury minder, because you sort of have some responsibility for it.
It is, really. I don't know whether they'd like it, but yes.
No, Valerie, welcome. Thank you for talking to us. But can you tell us all what a jury minder is? What's your role here?
Well, I just support them. I hope I see that they're comfortable. I make sure they're up here on time. I'd spend an awful lot of time counting 1 to 9 to make sure I've got 9 in the right place at the right time. But they're all delightful, so it's not a job at all, really.
And you usher them back to their room, and you kind of lock the door and make sure that, I mean,
Actually, no. I leave them to it, and then I just disturb them 5 minutes before the time they have to come up here.
We should just let people into a secret that the jury room here is particularly nice, isn't it? With lots of lovely sofas and quiet areas to retreat into. There's a big fireplace. There's a smell of wood smoke.
Particular high-quality flapjack and shortbread too.
Yes,
we noticed.
Kathy had her eyes on that. 3 years ago, I know you went to one of the international rounds of the competition.
Yes, and I would have done again this year as well. Great, actually, really, really great. I mean, it's lovely. I think it was 2015 was the first year where I heard all the rounds. I mean, that was round 1 here. It was the last one, which with Fanny was really in charge of. And it was fantastic to hear right from the beginning. And in fact, in that round, my pick in round 1 didn't go through to round 2, but my relationship with him has changed my life since. So, you know, you don't need to be a winner. Well, it was a pianist called Daniel Chubanu, and he didn't go to round 2 here, but then he won in South Africa, he won in South America, and then he came second in the Rubinstein. So he did really well, and I actually went to Tel Aviv to follow him there. And that was so exciting. I'm a super fan of his, yes, absolutely.
But isn't that wonderful that you've
and it would never. I would know nothing about him had I not come here.
And what's behind you wanting to do this? I mean, you're obviously a music lover, and I know you want to listen to everything.
I gave up work in 2015, and I wanted to be a volunteer, but it had to be something that would let me hear all the music. So Linda assigned me with this role because, you know, if I'm with a jury, they have to hear all the music. So
And
it's good.
you say you had a favourite in 2015. Have you got a list of favourites this time as well? I'm not expecting you
yes,
to share them with
actually,
us.
not quite like Daniel, but Thomas Kelly for me. I mean, I love Thomas Kelly in the first round and in the second round here and here. But it's interesting because there were two in the round two which I didn't pick, and one has really convinced me this time. You know, so the jury know best, really.
Yeah. Well, it'll be very interesting to see Thomas Kelly's fate, which we will find out much
tonight.
later on this evening at probably about 10:30, 10:45, something like that. You'll be here?
I'll be here.
Good.
Yes, I won't go home without knowing that,
Good.
you know.
Well, we look forward to seeing you a bit later.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you,
indeed,
Valerie.
for joining us. Valerie James, jury minder, and another fantastic volunteer who helps make this competition run so smoothly. And just to double confirm, one more pianist coming up in a couple of minutes' time, two more at 6:45 BST, and then round about 10:30, 10:45, we'll be on stage with the jury, with Dame Imogen Cooper, the chairman of the jury, and with the 10 semi-finalists to find out who has gone through to Friday and Saturday's final of this 2021 Leeds International Piano Competition. Just remarkable this event is happening in all its glory after.
Yes, let's not forget that,
we've gone
because
through.
so many competitions have been cancelled this year, or they've been online, and so just to actually have all these wonderful young people all here in Leeds actually performing, and I think they're all rising to the challenge of being able to do that.
Well, listen, Ulrich Gerhardt, our technician, has cleared the stage. He's gone, which means we're pretty much ready for our next competitor. So let's have a little taste of her performance in the second round of the competition. Yu Zhang Li, 22 years old, from China. Here she is, playing Beethoven. Zhang Li from China. There she is, waiting backstage. Still got her jacket on at the moment. I think that may be because we haven't quite got the jury back yet. They're drifting back into the hall, obviously enjoying the luxuries of that jury room. Valerie was.
It's all too nice, and those delicious biscuits. And I'm just thinking there of seeing her waiting backstage with that. It looks so familiar, you know, just trying to stay warm. Often in those corridors, a little cold.
Yes, quite. We're going to hear a Schumann concerto for piano without orchestra.
Yes, and this was a piece that Schumann actually revised. So it started off as a sonata with five movements, and he revised it, and then it came back with 3 movements. There's a movement dedicated to Clara. Clara's been at the centre of this competition here. So this is a great piece. We hear the Adas mazurkas again. Actually quite clever programming because the Schumann and the Brahms relation, and then we come back to we finish this program with the Brahms E minor cello sonata, which we've not heard at all in this.
It'd be very nice to hear a different piece of chamber music. Just looking to see if we've got all the jury, and I think we have. We've got Zucker Arvenhouse there talking to Inan Barnatan and Adrian Brendel behind them. Adam Gatehouse, who is artistic director with the chairman of the jury, Dame Imogen Cooper, and behind them the agent Gaetan Ludwig and Ludovic Morlot, the French conductor. Stephen Osborne, I notice, has been taking a position far left, actually out of sight of our cameras. He's got a particular pillar that he likes to lean against, I think. And also on the jury, but we couldn't see there, was Ryan Wigglesworth, composer, conductor, former guest conductor of the Halle Orchestra, who we heard 3 years ago at the competition as the official orchestra. But it's the Royal Liverpool Philharmonic Orchestra, conducted by Andrew Manzi, who are going to accompany our 5 finalists in their concertos on Friday and Saturday night in Leeds Town Hall. So the jacket is off for Zhang Li. And she's going to start her programme with those 3 mazurkas by Thomas Addis. Then that's Schumann Sonata No. 3 in F minor, concerto for piano without orchestra. Zhang Li from China, semi-finalist number 8, the Leeds International Piano Competition. Zhang Li from China, playing a program that ended with Chopin's Ballade No. 4 in F minor. Started with the three mazurkas of Thomas Adès, and at its heart, a Schumann sonata in F minor, concerto for piano without orchestra.
Yu Zhang is a very interesting musician because she's so deeply committed emotionally, but at the same time keeps her emotions under wraps. So I've often heard the end of that Chopin kind of in a much more explosive way, but she brought it to a conclusion without actually doing that. It's quite fascinating, her journey.
Yes, it's very interesting. John Ogden, the great British pianist, described it as the most exalted, intense and sublimely powerful of all of Chopin's compositions. As he said, it may only be 12 minutes long, but it lasts and contains the experience of a lifetime. And it's true, isn't it? It's an extraordinarily potent and powerful piece of piano music.
Exactly, and I think she likes very much this kind of deep emotional storytelling. I felt that when I listened to her second round. And the Schumann, you know, it's a four-movement sonata. Sorry, I said three before, so just to correct myself there, but the end of that third movement, she sort of played those F minor chords as if her life depended on them. So a lot of emotional content there. She plays with kind of quite an open sound, but never explodes over the edge, and then can suddenly drop to incredible pianismo. So very, very interesting musician.
Well, we had a glimpse a second ago of Laura van der Heijden, the cellist, backstage. She's going to come onto the platform next here at Leeds University Great Hall to join Yu Zhang Li in a performance of Brahms's Cello Sonata No. 1. This is a work written in 1862, so exactly 20 years later after Chopin wrote his Ballade.
Absolutely, and there's a beautiful story that Brahms wrote this for an amateur cellist, Joseph Gensbacher. And when they first played this, it was considered that Brahms was too loud. The cellist complained and said, "You're too loud," and he said, "Never mind," and carried on at the same pitch. So let's hope that doesn't happen today.
And it wasn't, I mean, we were saying this yesterday, it was published as a sonata for piano and cello, and Brahms was absolutely keen to point out that the piano shouldn't dominate, but that it certainly had equal balance in this. It was true chamber music with two equal parts.
Absolutely, there's very much dovetailing of themes throughout, and it's very tricky to balance the fugue in the third movement because the pianist needs to sound really strong, but never to kind of obliterate the cellist. It's quite a challenge to get that, so I'll be looking forward to hearing that.
And I think once again worth reminding you, wherever you're watching medici.tv, that this performance is off the back of a matter of hours of rehearsal, very strictly and fairly timed rehearsal to ensure that nobody gets any more time than anyone else with their chamber music partners. So it's a bit like sort of someone being thrown into the mix after a cancellation at a music festival, isn't it? Absolutely,
and at this point, I think, you know, we can really tell whether the competitors have still got their stamina, so...
Brahms Cello Sonata No. 1, Laura van der Heijden playing the cello with our semi-finalist Yu Zhang Li. Zhang Li from China playing the Brahms Cello Sonata #1, while playing the piano part of it, with Laura van der Heijden playing the cello, and that big bang just before the end of one of her top strings went.
Absolutely amazing from Laura before we get to you, Zhang, there, because she really kept that show going right to the end and had to play on different strings and in different positions. So bravo to her, first of all. But just back to the pianist now, because this is what it's all about. And I think the jury, in this situation,
they really will have been listening to see how Yu Zhang reacted to phrasing that she's had heard. So, you know, it's a classic chamber music scenario.
We can just see Lara there,
yes,
just showing the broken string to Yu Zhang Li. It really was. There it is.
Yeah.
Goodness, I mean, just hanging
snapped.
off.
It's completely, but bravo her. I mean, she just improvised.
There's a huge crack. I imagine it came across on the microphones, but a huge crack here in the hall. An afternoon of extraneous noises, because that car alarm returned as well.
Absolutely.
Probably you won't have been aware of that at home, but
absolutely,
it was a bit of a distraction here in the hall.
Absolutely, but you know, this is the drama of real life music happening right in front of us, and Lara dealt with that. But also Yu Zhang, you know, she will have heard something, she will have known something was wrong, and just continued as they should.
And that has to happen. I mean, that's not a common occurrence, but it's not an unusual occurrence either, is it?
Oh, it happens very, very rarely in all my time of playing with cellists or string players. So, you know, just occasionally a string will bust, and sometimes it has to stop, and sometimes she was so near the end, she probably thought, let's go for it. But it's a tremendous piece, and so much phrasing there. So I think the jury will have been listening out to see what Lara maybe passed over to Yu Zhang, and how she received that information and what she did with it, and her choices of articulation. So they will have to make their own decisions about that.
Well, very interesting. So we've heard now 8 of our 10 semi-finalists here at the 2021 Leeds International Piano Competition. 2 more to go when we're back on air at 6:45, and then after we hear the last note of music, probably around 9:45, we'll break for, I guess, probably realistically an hour, but you might want to come back sort of 45 minutes after we finish, when the jury will have made their decision as to the names of the 5 finalists going through to Friday and Saturday's final. Also, I'm hoping that we'll get news of the 5 piano concertos that they're going to play. Each pianist has to put in 2 programs for both this stage of the competition and for the final. They have to give 2 piano concertos, one relatively modern piece, a sort of 19th or 20th century work, and then a more classical piece, Bach also included, and the jury will decide which one they want to hear them play. I wonder, partly based on what they've played in this round. So if a pianist has played Bach in this round, they might go for a more contemporary piano concerto.
Possibly. I would think they'll look at it, you know, what they've heard maybe over the 2 rounds, and think, okay, we could do with a little bit more of this, and you know, they'd like to explore another side of the pianist, and then also programming in general.
Yeah.
So a couple of considerations there, but I think the main thing for the pianists is that at this moment in time, you know, they've been working on this, and then continuing to practice their concertos, just not knowing whether they're through, and it's a big, heavy workload. And
having to practice.
And having to practice.
There's a button to press, isn't there, Kathy?
Oh, there is, yes. So look, if you've had an amazing time like we have, very fortunate to be here listening to this fabulous music, and you really would like to support these young pianists, which I really hope you will do, because that's what this competition is basically all about. It's that window of opportunity. There is a button to press. It's on the home page of medici.tv, or is it on the Leeds Piano Competition?
Leeds.medici.tv.
That's it. So find that link, press it, donate £1, £100, €1,000, 10 million kroner, whatever. We would love.
How much is 10 million kroner?
I don't know. It's probably not very much, actually. Let's say a billion.
Yeah, we'll get out our calculators for a bit later on and work out some currency conversions. Let me just give you the details of later on. Dmitry Cherny from Ukraine will be first on. 7 o'clock he'll be on the stage here, and then about 75 minutes after that we'll have the interval, and then after that Alim Baysanbayev from Kazakhstan. Thomas Adès, Schumann, Scriabin, Ligeti and Ravel are amongst the composers that we're going to hear later. Our chamber music, the César Franck violin sonata. I know you're looking forward to that.
Oh, I am, yes, wonderful. So that means a return of Jack Liebeck there.
It does,
yes.
And also we'll hear the Brahms Piano Quintet in C minor, so 3 members of the Castellian Quartet accompanying our musicians for that. So Dmytro Chony, Ukraine first of all, and then Alim Baysanbayev from Kazakhstan after that. We're back at 6:45 British Summer Time for the last 2 semi-finalists in this very exciting 2021 Leeds International Piano Competition.
I can't wait. Come and join us.
See you later.